Let's talk about the one area that seems to show up out of nowhere in perimenopause and refuses to leave: stubborn lower belly fat. You could be working out, eating clean, doing all the things, and still feel like that area doesn't improve. In fact, sometimes it even gets worse as you get older. I hear this all the time from women in perimenopause. And to be quite honest here, most of what you've been told and taught is flat out wrong. There's so much misinformation on the internet these days. Between this exercise got rid of my fupa belly, this workout targeted my lower belly fat, there's so much confusing information out there. And by the end of today's episode, I want you to feel crystal clear on exactly what you need to do in order to improve this area if that's something that you are interested in doing. I wanted to do this episode today because I'm in perimenopause with all my clients. I'm right there in the trenches with them, and all over Instagram, I keep seeing these posts and reels talking about how this one exercise got rid of my fupa. And I think this is really misleading for people because a fupa is not going to be fixed by doing abdominal work or deep core exercises. Is going to be a reduction in body fat. So by the end of today's episode, I think you're going to feel confident knowing exactly what to do if this is something that you want to improve. If you want to have less stubborn lower belly fat, if you want to decrease the appearance of your fupa, stick around because that's exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. I'm Courtney Witten, and welcome to the Lean and Strong in Perimenopause podcast. I'm a personal trainer and health coach, and I'm passionate about helping women navigate midlife and helping them look and feel their best in perimenopause. Now, before we dive into today's episode, FUPA, the truth about belly fat in perimenopause, I do want to invite you to my upcoming free event. It's the 5-day Lean Physique Challenge. Just 5 days to a leaner, stronger perimenopause body. Inside this challenge, I'm going to be teaching my 5-step framework for physique change in perimenopause. Challenge, you're going to get a very small action step for you to implement to help you get some momentum toward your body composition goals. So whether you want to maintain some recent weight loss, or maybe you want to lose fat or spend some time building muscle, this challenge is for you because here's the reality. You don't have to do a bunch of stuff in order to reach your goals. You don't have to do these crazy 75 hard challenges in order to see fat loss results. In fact, my framework is very simple and really anyone can do it. So whether you are already exercising or maybe you're new to weight training, it doesn't matter, but it's important that you start now. So if you're confused on where to get started on your fitness journey, or maybe you've been doing all the things, maybe you've been going to group fitness classes, maybe you've been doing things like counting macros, but you're still not seeing your body change, this challenge is exactly what you need to get the needle moving. You can sign up for this challenge in the show notes. The challenge starts Monday, May 18th, which is actually my birthday week. So I'm turning 45 on May 19th, and I would love for you to join me because I'm going to be sharing everything that I do as a perimenopausal woman, everything that I do to stay lean 365, to make sure that I'm still building lean muscle tissue as I get older. I'm sharing everything that I do myself, everything I do when I coach my clients, and I'm sharing it for free starting Monday, May 18th. Don't forget to sign up for the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge by going to the link in the show notes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. So first of all, I just want to name out what exactly is a FUPA. You probably have heard this term before, whether you've been scrolling on the internet or scrolling Instagram. This has been very much a hot topic inside of women's health and fitness, especially if you're 40 or older. But basically, a FUPA is an acronym for fatty upper pubic area. So this is essentially just a pocket of fat that is around the lower belly. You may have noticed with time and age that a lot of times where you carry body fat does change. This is especially true if you are genetically disposed to carrying body fat in your midsection, like someone like me. Anytime that I gain weight, yeah, it's really all over, but I notice an increase in fat mass in my belly area. So some of this can be genetic. a lot of women that are perimenopausal or menopausal will notice that they have a little bit more fat around the midsection. And there's a few reasons for this. So one is fluctuating hormones. So the decrease of estrogen and progesterone, yes, that can absolutely shift where you store body fat. So a lot of times when we hit perimenopause, menopause, a lot of times we start to see an increase of fat around the midsection. The other thing, and I think this is really true for me as well, is that we need to remember that you cannot get rid of fat cells once you have them. So, meaning if you have gained weight in the past, then more than likely you have more fat cells. So, your fat cells can increase just like in number, but they can also increase in size as well. So, here's what happens if you gain weight: those fat cells can increase in size, but also you can create more fat cells. And here's the problem: because you can lose weight, you can lose body fat, but if your body has increased the amount of fat cells, then that can make it the appearance of fat around the midsection even more. So that actually happened to me when I put on 20 pounds a couple years ago. When I lost the weight, well, I didn't lose all of the weight, but I've lost 12 pounds out of the 20. And I have noticed the way my belly looks is different. And so my theory is it's a combination of being in perimenopause and menopause. I'm also genetically disposed to storing more fat around the midsection. That's just how my body has always been. I've always been a little bit more apple shaped. And in addition, my theory is that the amount of fat cells that I had actually increased with that 20-pound weight gain. So when I lost weight, yeah, that area did improve, but also my body just looks different, even though I've already been that weight before. So that's my theory, is that my body just has more fat cells. So even though those fat cells have shrunk a little bit with the weight loss I had back in last fall, the fact might be that I'm just genetically disposed to carry fat there. I'm definitely in perimenopause after my last gyno appointment, where I've actually just getting ready to start some hormone replacement therapy. But also, I do think that gaining some weight and then losing it, I think that actually definitely changed my body, because I just have more fat cells. And again, once you have those fat cells, you cannot get rid of them, but they can shrink in size with fat loss. So that's essentially what a fupa is. Let's touch real quick on an apron belly, because I was actually kind of confused about this a while back, but I want to talk about apron belly as well, because some of you all might have that versus a fupa. So an apron belly is lower belly fat, but it sometimes can be a combination of fat and also loose skin. So if you've lost a lot of weight in the past, you might have belly fat and also skin that hangs over your lower abdominals. So this kind of looks like an overhang, if you will. So we have a fupa that is essentially just a pocket of fat around the lower abdominals, or it might be a combination of fat and skin, which can be a result of large weight loss. So whether you have a fupa or an apron belly, I want you to first of all know that neither of these means that there's anything wrong with you. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong, because a lot of having a fupa and having an apron belly is really not preventable, because aging is inevitable. And so if you are genetically disposed to carrying more weight in your midsection, then yeah, you're just going to have a harder time. But please don't click off yet, because I do want to let you know there is some ways that you can absolutely improve this area if that is what you want to do. So I just want to be clear here that you're not doing anything wrong and there's nothing wrong with you. Having a fupa is actually very, very normal. And I definitely want to normalize that, yes, you can actually be lean and still have stubborn belly fat. I do think that it is kind of part of being a woman, but I don't want you to feel disempowered, because there is things that you can do to reduce the appearance, to lose body fat, to improve that area, to get your belly more flat. So I don't want this to become like I'm stuck, like there's nothing I can do about it, because that is not true. there is things with your lifestyle that you can change and shift so that way you get the results that you want. So next I want to dive into why spot reduction doesn't work. So earlier we talked about all the influencers on Instagram. Like, all you have to do is go to the Reels tab and start scrolling, and you start seeing it all over the place. There's so many accounts with huge amounts of followers that are talking about deep core work, this one exercise reduced my fupa. But the reality is that if these people don't have fupas and they're claiming that those exercises are working, they actually don't have that problem in the first place. They probably don't have a fupa. They're probably young enough to where they are not dealing with that yet, or they are just not apple shaped. They are not genetically disposed to gaining weight around the midsection. So whatever the case may be, a lot of times when I see these influencers, and yeah, they might be ripped, yeah, they're not perimenopausal yet. So I'm not going to take fucking advice for someone who is not struggling with that, who doesn't have it, and also someone who is actually spreading misinformation, because that is misinformation. You do not get rid of a fupa by doing more core work. And in fact, that can actually build muscle around your waist, creating a more bulky shape. But the way to get rid of a fupa or to reduce the appearance of it isn't by doing core work. Now, core work can absolutely help your posture. It can help strengthen your core. It can actually help you with core control. So that is one thing I do want to point out, doing things like vacuums. And yes, deep core work can absolutely help you keep your abdominals more engaged, and that's going to help you have a more leaner look. It's going to help you keep your abdominals in. It's going to help you keep them engaged, so that way your abs are not like splaying out, if that makes any sense. So it's not going to get rid of it, but it could reduce the appearance of the fupa. It can give you an illusion of having a flatter stomach. So I don't want to discount ab work, but what I am saying is that that is not how you get rid of it. Okay. Facts, 100% facts. There is no way that you can spot reduce. You cannot lose fat from one area in particular. You really just have to have nature do its thing. And unfortunately, I am going to be very clear here that your most stubborn place that you store fat is going to be the most stubborn to get rid of, and it's going to be the last one to get rid of. So I know for someone like me, honestly, I'm going to have to be like stage lean to get rid of my fupa. I would have to be at an unhealthy body fat percentage and weight in order to achieve that. So I think a lot of this, ladies, is going in with dismantling like these crazy expectations. Like, we look at people, and sometimes there's people in perimenopause and menopause that are walking around ripped, but also they are not genetically disposed to having fat around the midsection. I follow plenty of people that are perimenopausal, menopausal, that are walking around with a six pack, but also, again, they are not genetically disposed to this. In addition, we have to realize that these are fitness instructors. These are personal trainers. These are people like me that actually do have time. But a lot of these people, they do not have as crazy as a schedule as you do. So we have to normalize that. A lot of us do not have time to do weightlifting and cardio every single day. A lot of us do not have time to walk 20K steps a day. A lot of us do not have time to meal prep and do all of these things. So we have to remember that sometimes we see these bodies online and they act like it's super doable to achieve that physique. But if we would actually pull back the curtain and take a look at their life, sometimes these people are struggling with eating disorders. Sometimes these people are chronic dieting. Sometimes these people are over exercising. So I want to normalize that a lot, because there is a lot of influencers on Instagram that are saying like, hey, this is actually doable. Like, hey, all it takes is doing these core workouts. That's bullshit. Like, trying to stay super lean and trying to have a six pack in menopause is actually, for most of us, is not going to be realistic. So unless you have super awesome genetics, unless you're one of those unicorns that doesn't have this hormonal shift of belly fat, honestly, I think it's like more normal to have somewhat of a fupa. I do, even if you are lean. So for me personally, I had to shift my expectations and realize like I could have a very flat stomach, but I'm not willing to drop my body fat super low so it fucks up my hormones and my energy. I also know that's terrible for my metabolism. I have already been through all of that before, and that's the last thing I want to fucking do is chronic diet, so that way I have to drop my calories low and I'm like sustaining off of 1,400 calories again. Like, I'm just not willing to do that. So we have to kind of go in with shifting our expectations and realize that we're not seeing everything that a lot of these coaches are doing. They are not sharing everything. Okay. Like I said, some of these people are disordered as fuck. So I think for me, I'm hoping that's helpful, that, hey, I just kind of have to like shift my expectations. I can be lean, I can look good, and I can kind of like do things like wear high-waisted leggings to hide my fupa. There's also posing that we can do. And also, again, core work, posture work to where we can reduce that appearance. But I'm going to tell you right now, what you're seeing on the internet right now that is running rampant all over Instagram, all over TikTok, this one exercise changed my fupa. Absolutely fucking not. Here's how you get rid of a fupa. This is how you get rid of stubborn belly fat. You have to lose overall body fat. And again, you're not going to be able to pick where that is actually coming from. Okay. I know that's the sad reality, but I will say even a 12-pound weight loss, I wouldn't say it's dramatic, but it's noticeable. Like, I do feel more confident. I just have to manage my expectation that, hey, like, I could lose 5 pounds and look a little bit more leaner. But, I think for a lot of us, we just have to find that body fat percentage that we can actually maintain without having to like uproot our lives, without having to do cardio and weight training in the same day, without always cutting our calories. It is very much a mindset shift. And honestly, if you are struggling with your mindset with things like this, like if you're beating yourself up over having a fupa or you're struggling with fat loss, honestly, working with a coach is one of the best things that you can do, because I've been talking a lot about this on my Instagram page about changing your identity and shifting your beliefs to where you're not stuck in all or nothing thinking, because that is actually the biggest fucking kiss of death when it comes to reaching your goals. Because if you're getting in your own fucking way, if you have all or nothing thinking and you're constantly starting over, if you're not shifting your identity and you're hating the fucking process, like, it's really going to be hard to make these shifts. So I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but if you are doing that, then more than likely you're going to have a hard time reaching your goals. So reach out. I'm going to drop my email address if you want to inquire about one-on-one coaching that I actually have a free 2-week trial on. Send me an email. I would love to chat with you, and no pressure. We can just have a conversation and see where you're at now and see if we can together bridge that gap to where you are now to where you want to be. So you can reach out to me. Email address is in the show notes. So let's go over next what women do to try to lose belly fat and what actually does work, especially in perimenopause, because it is going to get a lot harder to lose fat, especially in this area, if you're perimenopausal or menopausal. So first of all, let's go over the mistakes that I see women make. So first of all, it is eating less and less and less. We're not going to get into this too much, because we talk about that a lot on this podcast, and we have plenty of episodes that talk about the problem with chronic dieting. But basically, eating less and less and less is not really a good strategy. We want to think about fat loss being in phases, and we'll touch on this here in just a little bit. But we don't always want to be in fat loss mode. And in fact, if you're always in fat loss mode, but nothing is working, you're probably not ready for fat loss. So this is what I suggest doing. Go into Lean and Strong and Perimenopause podcast and check out my perimenopause fat loss checklist. I did this last August, and during this episode, I share with you 4 skills that you need to have in place before entering a fat loss phase, so that way you can get in and get the fuck out. But basically, eating low calorie 365 is not a lifestyle like everyone says on the internet. It's actually supposed to be a phase. You're not always supposed to be in fat loss mode. If you are doing this, this can lead to metabolic rate declining. So meaning you're going to have to lower your calories even more to lose weight. It can also decrease your muscle mass. It can decrease your energy. So this is really just a shitstorm to not being consistent. And we need consistency in perimenopause. We need to be lifting weights on a consistent basis. We need to be moving and physically active, getting our steps in every single day. We need to be doing things like that. And it's hard to be consistent with these things like eating in a calorie deficit, hitting your workouts, hitting your steps, whenever you're not giving your body enough fucking energy to perform well. So it's not the best strategy to just diet, diet, diet. We do need to have things like breaks, and we also need to have times at maintenance so that way we can focus on building skills and also building muscle. This is how you're actually going to change your physique. You're not going to change your physique by just losing weight. You're going to change your physique by building muscle and losing fat. And you have to have that muscle build in there at some point. Otherwise, you're just going to lose weight and you're not going to look toned at all. You're not going to have any shape to your body and you're not going to be happy with the results. The other thing that I see women do to try to fix stubborn belly fat or fupa or apron belly is to increase cardio. And cardio can help because it can help you with calorie expenditure. It can help you get a little more bang for your buck for creating a calorie deficit. So I do think that it is a great tool to use, but I see it used too much. I understand because I used to believe that this was the way to fat loss as well, because I would get sweaty. I would burn a lot of calories. It's made sense, right? Like I'm sweating a lot, like I'm burning calories. My heart rate is up. That seems like that high effort would yield loss of body fat. But the problem is that if we're doing a lot of this, you're probably going to be interfering with your building of muscle. And again, that is what's going to help you look good when you lose weight. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to protect our muscle mass, because it is hard as we get older. It is hard when we're perimenopausal and menopausal to not only build more muscle, but it's also hard to actually maintain what we have. So if we're always in a calorie deficit, if we're always doing a lot of cardio and HIIT, that can absolutely interfere with muscle building. And not to mention, a lot of cardio can actually increase your appetite because it burns a lot of calories. So I see this a lot. Not everyone, but I do see that some women, if they're doing a lot of these cardio and HIIT workouts, that is increasing their hunger. So they might burn a lot of calories in a workout, but then they get the munchies later and then they're outdoing their deficit because they're ravished. So that's something that I want to point out. It's not true for everyone, but it can happen. The other mistake I see women make when it comes to trying to get rid of body fat or belly fat is avoiding carbs. So I used to do a low carb diet. I actually enjoyed it for a couple of years. There was some good benefits to it, but now that I'm doing a high carb approach, I've shifted to doing like 5 to 10% of my calories coming from carbs to 40. So I did this slowly, but I actually feel really good right now. I'm seeing more muscle tone. I'm lifting heavier, even though I've been lifting for like 20 years. I also have more energy and I am seeing a little bit of muscle growth. I'm eating at maintenance right now. And by doing 40% carb, by prioritizing those carbohydrates and not being scared of them, I'm actually recovering better. I'm feeling better. I have more energy and I'm seeing more muscle growth than I ever did on low carb. So a lot of people think that low carb diets are like the magic bullet when it comes to fat loss, but really you're still just creating a calorie deficit. One thing I did like about low carb was that it did help me with hunger and cravings. I did feel very satisfied on a keto diet. But at the end of the day, it really does come down to calories in, calories out. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee weight loss. I actually think that avoiding carbs is more detrimental than helpful. Obviously, that's just going to depend on the person. If you have type 2 diabetes, you might want to do some kind of low carb approach, but I also don't think it's necessary. A lot of times you just have to make sure that you're eating carbs with protein and fat, and also making sure that you are eating healthy carbs that are not going to spike your blood sugar as much. So for most women, I actually think that higher carb or even moderate carb is really going to be best because you're going to have more energy. You're going to more than likely recover better and be able to lift heavier. And that's going to just translate to more muscle growth. So, unfortunately, just dieting all the time, more cardio, avoiding carbs, all of these things can lead to muscle loss, looking skinny fat, slow metabolism, which trust me on this, you do not want that. And what's really frustrating, no body change. So you could be doing all of these things. And trust me, I've been there before. I've done all of these things I just listed off. And when my body didn't change and I felt like I was like doing all the things, I just got really frustrated. And all that made me feel like was that I was fucking broken. So what we do want to do is actually improve body comp. This is the only way to less body fat. So again, it's not so much about losing weight, it's more about losing fat and building muscle. And we want to do that with strategic phases. So I want to remind you all that I'm going to be sharing my 5-step framework for changing your physique and perimenopause. And one of the things that we do, we have strategic phases. So inside Lean Physique, which is my one-on-one coaching membership for women, we do phases with our fat loss, with our maintenance, with our muscle building. This is really, really important because again, if we're always dieting, we're not going to see muscle growth. We're going to slow our metabolism. So what we want to do is be strategic with our nutrition, have sometimes eating at maintenance, essentially what we need in order to maintain our current body weight, and then having sometimes in a fat loss phase where we're eating in a deficit. But for a lot of women, and I don't want this to sound overwhelming, but I also want to say this because I think this might help some of you all manage your expectations, okay? So fat loss isn't generally like you lose weight and then you're done for the rest of your life. First of all, the problem isn't losing weight for most people. The problem is actually keeping it off. I see it all the time. Women will lose weight, whether it's naturally or with the help of a GLP-1. And if they're not prepared, if they don't really know what to do after the diet, if they don't have a plan, then I see it all the time. The weight comes back. And sometimes even more weight will come on. So it's very much a skill, and it's not anything that you either have or you don't. It's absolutely a skill. And unfortunately, there's so many coaches that don't even fucking teach this. But you need to have a plan for after a calorie deficit. You need to have some kind of solid plan. And there's things that we can do in order to make sure that we are keeping that weight off. So for example, I finished my fat loss phase almost 5 months ago. Okay. So I started my reverse diet back in November, like right before Thanksgiving. I actually started my reverse diet the week of Thanksgiving, which that was actually awesome. I will do that again, 100%. But I really weigh about the same. I ended my fat loss phase around 116, 117. I'm around like 118 right now. Sometimes I'll see 120, but I feel really good about that I'm up like 4, probably 400 calories more a day than I was in my deficit. And I feel great. And I'm staying lean. I haven't gained a bunch of weight back. Like I might have gained like 2 pounds back, but I feel really good. And the great thing is that my weight has barely changed and I'm eating a lot more. So that's really, really important. And I want to explain this because you don't want to just do one and done. Like you need to have, more than likely, you're probably going to have more than one fat loss phase. So I know for me, I'm at where I want to be, but maybe once a year I might do like a mini cut or just like a 3 or 4 month cut. I might do that once a year, maybe, but for the most part, I just live in maintenance. So I want you all to just kind of normalize that it's not one and done for most of us. Most of us need to have some times of stopping a calorie deficit, increasing calories to maintenance, focus on staying at maintenance where you can build more muscle. That way you can go back into your fat loss phase after you put on some more muscle mass. But for most of us, especially y'all that have been lifting for a long time, especially if you're somewhat lean, so say that you've already lost weight, you're going to start running into this problem of you're not going to be able to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. So that's why it's really important that we start being a little bit more strategic with our nutrition in perimenopause to where we're having more phases. Okay. So That's really the best way. You're not going to get the body of your dreams by losing weight. You're going to get the body of your dreams by having phases, by spending that time to build muscle so you look leaner, so you look tighter, you have that toned look, and then you can lose fat to get rid of that body fat and that belly fat, make that belly go down a little bit, and you're going to be able to see more muscle tone, because when you have less body fat, you're going to be able to see your muscle more. So that's what I want to say about that. Again, make sure that you join my free 5-day lean physique challenge. We're going to be talking about all of this that week. Okay. So we start Monday, May 18th. It's completely free. You can sign up and reserve your spot. Definitely sign up, because you want to make sure that you're getting all the tools, the workouts, the physique assessment guide, the daily nutritional commitments guide. You're going to get all of that and more when you join this challenge. So sign up today, reserve your spot. The link is in the show notes. The last thing I just want to touch on is making sure that you all understand that eating clean does not necessarily mean weight loss, fat loss, or less belly fat. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit, just because this is just something that popped in my head and it's been coming up a lot when I talk to women in the DMs on Instagram, just trying to provide value, help point them in the right direction, get them going. A lot of times, the women that I talk to are frustrated because they're already working out, they're already eating clean, but they're not seeing any fat loss, or not seeing any physique change. So yeah, some of that could be the workout. So I think I mentioned earlier, really in this stage of life, we need to be getting away from the HIIT heavy workouts. We need to get away from the cardio heavy workouts. There is a place for those, but it's going to be sprinkled in. We really need to be focusing more on weight training and implementing progressive overload. So we're actually increasing the weight, we're improving our form, we have better range of motion. All of those things. So basically it's progressive, but not only that, we need to be following a resistance training program that is actually designed for muscle growth. And that is going to entail doing the same workouts, following the same plan for months at a time. Okay. So sometimes that is the issue, but then I run into a lot. I hear women complain that they're not losing weight, but they're eating clean. So let me be clear here that eating clean does not equal fat loss. Okay. Facts. Listen, I've totally have been there before. I've been super frustrated because I didn't want to count calories. I didn't want to mess with macros. And I was like, well, I'll just eat clean. But the reality is that if you have no idea how much energy or calories you're consuming, then yeah, you're probably going to have a hard time losing weight. So at the very least, we need to have some kind of portion control in place. We need to get the skill of knowing how to build a plate. So even if that's visually a palm-sized portion of protein, a palm-sized portion of carbs, a fist size of veggie, and then a thumb-sized portion of fat, all of these things, along with macro counting, is going to help you have a better idea of what you're actually consuming. Because even though these foods are healthy, it doesn't matter if you're overeating on any food, that is going to result in fat gain. Okay. Like I said, I gained weight on a keto diet. It's absolutely possible, because it's not the quality of the diet that you're eating, is the quantity. So if you're over consuming calories, and that is even with healthy, clean foods, then yeah, that is going to result in fat gain. So I just wanted to point that out, that yeah, I think it's great. Eating clean is good for a lot of reasons. It can help you feel more satiated. You're going to get more nutrients. You're probably going to feel like you have more energy. You're going to probably have better digestion, because you're going to be getting fiber and whole foods into your nutrition. But at the same time, we need to remember that that is not the same as fat loss. So having some kind of portion control or learning how to build a plate, these are all things that we do inside of Lean Physique, my one-on-one coaching membership for women. And I just want to normalize that, y'all. Like, it's totally normal to have a little bit of a belly on you. And I want you to know that you're not broken, but I also want you to know that it's not like there's nothing you can do. We can always track our food a little bit better. We can always increase our physical activity, so a calorie deficit is easier. We can always improve skills. So you're not broken. It's just one of those things. Some of us just need to shift our expectations. We are going to look a little bit different in this stage of life, but that also doesn't mean that you can't be lean, fit, healthy, and strong. So thanks so much for being here. I really hope this was helpful. I'm also going to put a link to my Perimenopause Fat Loss Secrets Guide. Inside this free guide, you're going to get the 3 tried and true ways to lose a pound a week in perimenopause. And this is exactly what I did last fall when I lost 12 pounds in 12 weeks. Don't forget to sign up for the free Lean Physique Challenge. We start Monday, May 18th. You definitely want to join me because these are the things we're going to be talking about that week. If you're enjoying this podcast, please do me a favor and write a 5-star review for me. It really does help me find more women who needs to hear this type of content. All right, bye for now.